Peace. What's going on, y'all? How y'all feeling out there, man? How y'all living? Hopefully everybody maintaining, focus on elevating, staying healthy, staying out the way. I had to get this mic back in order, man. Everything was acting strange again. But we in here now. We in there. What's going on, Sean? What's going on, Omnipotent Goldie? What's going on, Beast Reincarnated? What's going on, Dizzy? Got an important topic to cover today. Give people a chance. Scroll on in here, man. Want to talk about habits, old science of habits. What's going on, Cynthia Wisdom Seeker? Want to talk about habits, man. Want to destroy them. Oh, the topic is habits, man. The science of habits and how to create healthier habits for yourself. But before I dive into the topic for the day, what's going on, Jarrell? I want to build on the mathematics for the day. A lot of people have been asking me to make videos about supreme mathematics and associated with the fighting culture. So I'm gonna start off by building on today's mathematics. Since today is the 24th, the mathematics for the day is wisdom. That's the 2. And then the 4 is culture freedom. And that's all being born 2. 2 plus 4. That's what all being born 2 mean. It means equals. So that equals equality, which is 6. So the way I would break that down, wisdom is knowledge that you put into motion. Culture, that's your way of life. Freedom, that's liberation. So the way I would combine those together, your ways and actions, which is wisdom, should lead you to a culture that promotes freedom. And once you reach that stage of liberation, that should give birth to a reality of you being centered or balanced, because that's what the body strives for. So again, I'll break down the math for you today. That 2 to 4, that's wisdom, and that's culture, and that's freedom. So your ways and actions should result in a way of life that promotes your mental freedom, and that should give birth to balance. And that's what the body strives for. It strives for balance, equality. That's what equality represents, being centered, being balanced. So that's the simple mathematics for the day. 24, 2 plus 4 equals 6. Wisdom, culture, freedom equals equality. That's the supreme math. That's the math for the day. Y'all can take that and implement it however you want to implement it. But like I said, always think about wisdom being the knowledge, everything that you take in being put into motion. That's wisdom. So you don't want to be stuck on knowledge. You always want to translate that knowledge into motion. You always want to transfer that potential energy into kinetic energy. And that's what wisdom is, that kinetic energy. That's the motion. That's everything being put into motion. And again, with culture, like I said, the simple definition of culture is a way of life. Like, what way of life do you adhere to? Does that way of life promote freedom? Or does that way of life promote enslavement? My man's Killer Priest said religion is like a prison for the seekers of wisdom. So you want to make sure your way of life is not imprisoning you. It's not enslaving you. So your way of life should promote mental freedom. If the culture that you are subscribing to does not promote that, it's time for you to remove yourself from that particular culture, from that particular way of life, because that will not give birth to any form of balance. If anything, that will give birth to an imbalance. And we always strive for balance. The body strives for balance. Yep, most definitely. Turning the words into verbs. Verbs are the action words, so it's action. Most definitely got to keep it righteous. Most definitely got to keep it righteous. And that's something that whatever culture you subscribe to should promote. Righteousness should be anti-righteousness, because that's your true nature. You righteous by nature. So anything that's anti-righteousness is anti-you. It's anti-nature. And we should not move according to anything that's anti-righteousness or anti-nature. Don't want to do that. should not be living like that at all. Beast Reincarnated, I pretty much do like affirmations. That's my meditation. And then I may have like 5 to 10 minutes where I focus on breathing. So to answer that, yes, I do my own form of meditation, mainly just focusing on breathing. But since we got, we got a lot of people tuned in right now, let's just dive right into today's topic. I already mentioned one book on habits. It was Atomic Habits. That's a good book that I mentioned way back when in the previous video. The next book that you should get revolving around habits is this book right here, The Power of Habit. Why we do what we do in life and business. And you can see the author right there. Put it up there for you. This is a very, very powerful book on habits, man. It breaks everything down in simplistic terms, man. It's a crucial book if you're looking to reverse habits and or if you're looking for like the reason as to why we have habits in the first place. Like it breaks all of that down. And a lot of people don't understand the science behind habits. And it's real simple. Your brain seeks the path of least resistance, just like you do. We always looking to take the easy route out. Your brain is doing the absolute same exact thing. It takes the path of least resistance. So when you repeatedly do something, it registers in your mind as, okay, I need to form a habit out of this because he or she is constantly doing this same act. So we're going to make it a habit. We're going to make it become automatic. So therefore, I don't have to put enough effort, or I don't have to put a lot of effort and energy into making this a reality. That's why we don't think about things like breathing, like the heart beats without us having to think about it. Like when you wake up, you automatically go brush your teeth. Like it doesn't require much thought. It doesn't require much energy. That is how and why habits form in the first place, because your brain, it strives to seek the path of least resistance. It doesn't want to waste energy on mundane tasks such as thinking about brushing your teeth, thinking about washing your face in the morning. It doesn't want to think about that. It doesn't want to think about breathing. It doesn't want to think about your heart beating. So just like on a macro level, we always striving to take the easy way out. Your brain is the same way. And it can't be because it has become. It is a problem because it could be a delicate situation there because the brain is not able to decipher right for wrong. So whatever it is that you repeatedly do, your brain is going to make a habit out of that action. So that's why you got to be real mindful of the things that you do on a consistent day-to-day basis, because in your mind, it will register as a habit. Hence why people have the bad habits that they do. The more that you do it, the more your brain registers it as something that must be done. Therefore, we're going to automatically gravitate towards it because you have done it repeatedly. Yeah, Dizzy, when you make a habit of taking on a challenge, it can become easy. It just depends on how you approach the situation or approach the challenge, which I'm going to break that down, how we can kind of create those healthier habits. But first, we need to understand what's going on in regards to why the habits form in the first place. So you want to be real mindful of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, just think about the things you do on a day-to-day basis and how little effort you spend on thinking about manifesting those things or doing those things. Like I said, brushing your teeth. When you wake up in the morning, do you think about brushing your teeth? You just go do it. Do you think about taking a shower? Like you just go do it. Like if you go work out, you just gonna go take the shower. It's a habit. It's a habit. And yeah, Jarrell, I'm gonna get to how to break those habits. It's actually pretty simple. It's actually pretty simple in regards to how to break the habit. Because it's not really, I don't want to say it's not really breaking the habit, because it is, but it's a loop. And you got to change the middle portion of that loop. And I'm going to break down what the loop is here in a second. But in order to reverse those habits or break those habits, you got to change one crucial aspect in that loop. And what is the loop? according to the science out here, according to the psychology out here, the loop in regards to habit formation and how to reverse habits. It is cue, which is a trigger. It is routine, and it is reward. I'm gonna repeat that loop again. The loop is cue, which is a trigger. Then it's routine, and it's reward. So this is why anytime someone comes to me about breaking a bad habit, I start at the foundation, which is the cue. What triggers you to indulge in whatever it is that you are indulging in that you consider bad or toxic? It is hard to, and almost nearly impossible, to reverse a bad habit if we can't get to the root, the trigger, what causes you to indulge in that habit in the first place. That is the first portion of that loop that needs to be focused on and needs to be discovered. And within this book, The Power of Habit, they talk about basically focusing, doing a self-assessment, analyzing what triggers you, what motivates you to indulge in that particular habit, and keeping the index card. And every time you get the urge to indulge in whatever it is that you are trying to reverse, write it down. Write all those triggers down. So, like, let's just say snacking is a bad habit you are trying to reverse and get rid of. What causes you to snack? Are you snacking out of boredom? Are you snacking because you feel like you are hungry? Are you snacking because a certain television program is on? Like, it's a lot of different things that can cause you to snack. So you got to get to the root cause of your snacking habit. Once you get to that root cause, those triggers, then it becomes easy to focus on the routine, which comes after the trigger. So the way it works is, okay, boom, I'm bored. That's my trigger. So once boredom strikes, now I automatically, because we just broke down how the brain works, now I automatically got this urge to snack. So now I got this urge and this craving and this desire to snack. I'm reaching for the snacks. It's automatic because the cue done set off that trigger. So now the brain is like, oh, there goes the trigger. It's in automatic mode now. So now I'm bored, reach for the snacks. And the reward is obviously kind of connected to the trigger. So it's like if I'm snacking out of boredom, so the reward would be, all right, I'm snacking, therefore I'm not bored. It's alleviating or killing my boredom. If you are snacking because you feel like you're hungry, reaching for that snack or indulging in that snack is satisfying the hunger. So whatever it is, whatever the trigger is, usually the reward is associated with that particular trigger. So you really got to pay attention to what the cue is. Why is it that you do what you do? That is crucial. And get that index card. Pay attention to yourself over the next few days and see what causes these bad habits. What are your cues? What are your triggers? Like me, it's procrastination. Like procrastination is something that I wrestle with all the time. And one of my biggest cues in regards to like procrastination is just like when I set a goal for myself is to really not be specific with a due date. So in order for me to kind of reverse it, as soon as I get the idea to complete something, I got to give myself a due date that instant. If I don't, I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to take all the time in the world to get it done. So you got to really pay attention to what causes you to do what you do. Like when I procrastinate, it typically revolves around me not instilling a due date, not being real specific in regards to when I need to get this thing done. I don't have that sense of urgency. So you got to focus on that loop, man. I mean, if you think that this loop is far-fetched, I mean, just analyze your body. It's definitely going to start with that trigger. So what are y'all triggers? What are some of the habits that y'all are striving to reverse before I dive into how to start the reversal process? and create healthier habits? What are some habits that y'all are striving to reverse or striving to eliminate? What are some bad habits that y'all currently deal with? Like I said, procrastination is one of my habits. But I'd like to hear from y'all in regards to some of the habits that y'all are dealing with and wrestling with. What's going on, Lance? Stephen S., I'm gonna definitely answer that. But you got to get to the root of that. What causes you to overthink? Like, overthinking is not something you just do. Something is causing you to do that in the first place. So it's something that's triggering you to overthink. And I mean, it could be something as simple as sitting in isolation, being bored. It could be anything. Anything can trigger the fact that you overthinking. Like, I know sometimes nighttime triggers me to think a lot. So like when it's nighttime, that's why I have trouble sleeping at times. Like I could be thinking a lot simply because it's nighttime. Something about nighttime, it triggers me to think a lot. And I get in deep thought when it's nighttime. During the day, that normally doesn't happen for me. It's during the nighttime for me. So that's one of my triggers. That's one of them underrated triggers, like stuff that you got to really pay attention to figure out. Okay, so we got boredom, then smoke. So basically, Thunder Scorpion, smoking is the habit, and you do it because you are bored. So boredom is the trigger for the smoking habit. All right, Stephen S., then I got you. Just stay tuned because I'm gonna break it down. So we got smoking, we got overthinking. So the science behind reversing these habits. And I said you got to focus on the middle portion of the loop. So it revolves around the routine. This is the way they break it down in this book and plenty of other books that I have read on habits. They say in order to reverse a habit, you have to change the routine. So the trigger, the cue, and the reward can remain the same, but the routine must change. So I'm going to go to Thunder Scorpion, for example. Your bad habit is smoking. Boredom is your trigger. So boredom can remain the cue, but you got to change the routine. So instead of smoking, you have to find another routine to replace that. Instead of smoking, eat a fruit or something. And then guess what? The reward remains the same. So you're bored, but instead of smoking, I grab the fruit. Guess what? My boredom is alleviated. My boredom is relieved. I'm no longer bored. But instead of me smoking, I reached for the fruit. So I substituted the fruit for the smoking. That is the scientific way. That is a scientific way to reverse your habits. So whatever it is, whatever your cue is, the cue remains the same. So whatever causes you to overthink, whatever causes you to procrastinate, it's going to remain the same. But you just have to change how you respond to that trigger or cue, meaning change the routine. So again, if procrastination is my habit that I'm trying to reverse, and like I said, not setting deadlines and stuff like that, if that is my routine, so when I come across an idea, okay, I want to write this book. Normally, I wouldn't take it serious enough to pull out a calendar. So if I don't immediately pull out that calendar and write it down and set a specific date, I'm going to procrastinate, and it's going to take way longer for me to complete that than it should. So in order for me to reverse that habit, once the cue hits, like once I get that idea, I got to immediately change up the routine. I got to pull out the calendar. And the reward is still going to be the same. The reward stays the same, but you got to change up that action. You got to change up that routine. That is the way you reverse it. So with Lance Beeman, with the drinking too many Cokes, that's easy. Whatever causes you to drink the Cokes, whatever the cue is, you just reverse it with something else. And for the most part, when it comes to stuff like when it comes to food or drinks, it's easy. So instead of Cokes, drink water. It's just that simple. Switch up the routine. It's that simple. Switch it up. So whatever it is that causes you to create that desire for the Coke, substitute the Coke for the water. What's going on, Sweet Tea? And Sentient Wisdom Seeker, there it is. So you done figured out your cue. The cue is anxiety or if you get upset. So now we just got to change the routine. The anxiety and you getting upset ain't going to go anywhere. We don't have to change that. We don't have to change that. We can continue to have the anxiety and we can continue to get upset. It's the routine. So instead of you going to smoke, just start focusing on your breathing. That's changing the routine. That's eliminating that habit to smoke. That's eliminating that habit to smoke and give yourself time with it. Because when you striving to reverse a habit, another thing that people don't understand, like once you try to reverse that habit by changing up the routine, you will have moments where you slip up and revert back to that bad habit. But if the good outweighs the bad, then you're on the right path. Just keep doing it. And eventually, that habit will reverse itself and it will become a healthier habit for you. So don't get mad. Don't get upset at yourself if you slip up like 1 or 2 times, but yet you've done right 10, 12, 15, 20 times. Oh, no, Sean Steed, I'm talking about procrastination solely on a personal basis. Like when you set goals for yourself and procrastinating on that. I'm not talking about anybody else's time and procrastinating on that, even though that can also help you defeat procrastination. Like if somebody gives you a time to complete something and you complete in that time, it's like school. When we was all in school, we had due dates and we had to make sure we got the stuff done on the due date or by the due date. Well, my way of procrastinating then was I was going to wait until the very last. If something was due at 12 o'clock midnight, I might have started working on it at 11 p.m. I was doing that hard in college. But I'm talking about procrastination strictly on a personal basis. Like you setting goals for yourself and procrastinating on your own goals and procrastinating on your own greatness. But you will come to find out once you work on it on a personal level, like even if you were in the work field, like when somebody gives you a task, like you won't procrastinate on it anymore. Procrastination carries on over in your corporate life as well. Like I have procrastinated everywhere I went. And I'm just now learning to nip it in the bud, man. And I've been reading a lot of books on habits and just how to reverse them. But procrastination was my number one enemy for the longest. What's going on, Brittany? Oh, go hard in that gym. I'm gonna go to the gym when I leave here. Yeah, Beast reincarnated, man. The shy thing is crucial, man, because I know how that is, man. I don't necessarily. I mean, shyness is something I've dealt with, but it's more so like socially awkward. That's how I would define myself, man. But in like the way to break out of that shell, man, you just got to talk. And you gotta go in your comfort zone. So it's like I'm comfortable talking in like a gym setting or something like that. So I just did more communicating where I was comfortable. And that's how you kind of break that. That's how you break that shyness. Yeah, Lance, it's an addiction, man, and the ingredients that are in the Coke, hence why they call it Coke, make you addicted to it. They create that craving. So it's that they know the psychology behind habits when they are creating these beverages and these food products. They know how habits work. That's why they create these additives in them to create that desire, that craving for their product. They know exactly how habits work. They want you to associate a certain thing with that Coke. They want you to associate a certain thing with that piece of candy. Once you do it, they know it's going to become automatic. And then they know the feeling that you will get once you indulge in that beverage or that product, hence the reward. Like candy, they got us good with like the sweets, man. We get that sugar rush. You get that sugar rush, bro. It's crazy. And the sugar rush is hard to defeat because it's hormonal. So it don't necessarily even have to be anything external for that sugar rush to hit you because your body naturally craves sugar. It's just the type of sugar that we supply it with that it has become the problem. And they know that. So it's like they know the body naturally craves sugar. So what did they do? Create this artificial sugar that can satisfy that craving. So then when you crave the sugar, you have mistaken it for that artificial sugar that they supply us with. So then when you consume that artificial sugar, now your sugar rush is apparently satisfied, but that's artificially. Hence why you would need some more sugar, like 20 or 30 minutes after you have consumed that candy, you need more because it goes up and it comes down hard. But they know the science of habit right there. That's what they doing. They practicing the science of habit. They know exactly what they are doing. Brent, I know a lot of people that have expressed porn being a problem for them, man. So I'm glad you working on reversing that. Yeah, social awkwardness is my thing, man. It's like it be so much going on in my mind that I have a hard time communicating with people. So that's the reason why I'm like socially awkward, due to the fact that it be a lot going on in my mind, man. So I have to sort through a lot in order to like communicate with people. And sometimes that creates that awkwardness because it's like a million things racing in my mind at one particular time. So when I'm having this conversation, I'm listening to you, but I'm thinking like a million different other things at one time. Like that's how my mind works. And that just creates an awkward situation in regards to my response sometimes. So with that, you just got to be in your comfort zone for the most part to break out of that shell. And absolution, laziness, what is your cue? Like what triggers that laziness? It's something that triggers that laziness. Oh, Khadijah, the caffeine pills. All right. I can already pretty much guess what triggers or what is your cue to take the caffeine pills. It probably has something to do with energy, low energy, fatigue. Yeah, Jarrell, eliminate the word trying. You're not trying to get over snacking on sweets. You will. You will get over snacking on sweets. All you got to do, change that routine. When you get that sugar rush, that sugar craving, eat fruits. Eat fruits. It's just that simple. Change the routine up. JB2 Real is crazy. It's crazy you mentioned biting your nails because in this book, The Power of Habit, I literally just read the section where he was talking about a person dealing with a patient that had a problem biting their nails. And basically, when something bad happens, if that's your cue, they pretty much say hide your hands. So whenever something bad happens, just put your hands in your pocket. Therefore, you can't bite the nail. Just put them in the pocket. That was one of the methods that was utilized in this book for the person that had that same issue. So when something bad happens, because that's your cue for biting the nails, put the hands in the pocket. And omnipotent Goldie, what causes you to be impatient? Almost definitely, Sean. I heard that. But what I was meaning on that, it's just like I said, with me writing a book. It's like if it takes to write a book that I really could write in a month, like that's on me. That's on me. Like I should not be operating on that type of time because it really doesn't take anything for me to type and dedicate that time to my particular work. It's just me procrastinating, being lazy, and not wanting to do that, not wanting to put in the work, not wanting to sacrifice the sleep. That's what I mean by procrastination. Like I can justify by saying I'm operating on my own time, but truth be told, I could easily knock it out, which would save me more time in the future. So all the time that I'm spending procrastinating on getting that project done, like that's time that I'm wasting that could be valuable in the future. Yep, Khadijah. So if lack of energy and fatigue is one of the cues, simple way to reverse that. Go to the fruits. That's all your body needs for that energy. And then you keep the reward the same. You keep that reward the same. We changing the routine. So instead of you getting the caffeine pills, you take the fruits. So when you feel fatigue, change the routine. No caffeine pills, the fruits. The reward is going to be the same. You still going to feel like you can do anything, and it's going to put you in a great mood. You just changing up the routine, substituting the caffeine pills for the fruits. So it's that simple. Switching up that middle portion, that routine. And you're gonna realize that reward is gonna be the same. Like I said, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough like the first few weeks that you do it, you may slip up. But if you stick to it, it's gonna reverse itself. And you're gonna have a healthier habit. Because you definitely don't want to be on a caffeine pill. Definitely don't want to depend on those, especially considering the fact that you obviously don't need them. Yeah, most definitely good eating and good rest. And yeah, being impatient. A lot of people are impatient, and a lot of people tend to overthink. Like I said, just focus on them cues. It's something that causes you. It's situations that cause you to be impatient, and it's situations that cause you to overthink. Change up the routine. It's like this. It's like decision making. Like that's where overthinking gets critical. So it's like when you present it with a situation and you got to make a decision. People that overthink, it take them too long to settle on the decision. So the way to change the routine, settle on it instantly. Do not change your mind. If you gotta, if somebody presents you with a situation and you got to choose between A, B, and C, make a decision that moment and don't change it. That's why I started kind of acting impulsively, because I tend to do that, which causes me to push things back. So now when I get the urge, I'm just acting on it. I'm doing it. I ain't pushing it back. Beast reincarnated, what benefits were you looking to get from the semen retention? Okay, so you've been slacking and procrastinating and got lazy because you got out of a bad relationship. So that's pretty much one of the triggers, man. It was the relationship. It kind of drained you. It drained your energy. So it seemed like when you get the urge or the desire to do anything, you start thinking about this relationship, and that causes you to procrastinate and be lazy. So it looked like to change your routine, man, you just got to change your perception in regards to what happened with that past relationship. You got to change the narrative. And right on, Stephen S. But yeah, you got to change that narrative, Giovanni. Got to change it. Like whatever went on in that relationship, man, it happened for a reason. And that reason can be positive. You just got to change the narrative to that positive so that you can stop procrastinating and stop being lazy. Maybe whatever happened in your relationship happened for that reason, for you to stop procrastinating, for you to work on that procrastination. All right, omnipotent Goldie. So, okay, so you don't like wasting time. So I expect results when things need to come together. So I'm going to assume that this revolves around dealing with other people. So you don't like people wasting your time, and then you don't like working with people that will cause you to feel like you are wasting your time. So with that being said, again, it goes back to perspective. When we dealing with patience, one of the main things to understand with patience is we can't control how other people respond and react. We can't expect everybody to have the same work ethic as us. So you simply got to just shift that perspective. So it's like that cue. Once you're working with somebody and you see that they're not moving at the rate of speed in which you would like, instead of getting impatient, instead of getting upset, change the narrative, change the routine. Everybody can't move how I move. Just repeat that to yourself every time.
Beast reincarnated, man, you could be, it could be small. It could be small benefits that you just simply not acknowledging. So I'm with you. You could probably just be not seeing it. And it could be other factors in play. Like, how's your mindset? Like, you still wrestle with a lot of negative thoughts. Like, your mindset is everything. It's just like eating healthy, man. You can eat healthy, but if your mindset is not correct, if your mindset is not correlating with that so-called healthy diet, then you may still experience like negative symptoms. So you got to get your mind right. Your mind got to correlate with some of the things that you are doing in order for you to really reap the benefits. And sometimes it doesn't work in that vice versa fashion. Like, sometimes people say if you eat healthy, then by default, like, your thoughts will become healthier. Sometimes it doesn't work like that, because a lot of people, some people have been traumatized mentally to the point where it got to be a lot more work. It has to be a lot more work put in mentally in order for them to shift their line of thinking. So they can't just eat right and all of a sudden their mentality changes. Some people, it doesn't work like that. Almost definitely absolution. I figured it was when I was talking about habits. That was kind of what I figured. Lindell, I'm not a fan of grilling nor barbecuing meats because I'm just not a fan of meat. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it at all. I mean, just consuming it in any way, shape, or form to me is unhealthy. But grilling, I was eating a lot when I was transitioning. I was eating a lot of baked and grilled like chicken before I transitioned. So when I was consuming it, striving to eat a little cleaner, I was eating grilled and baked. But yeah, absolution. Ain't nothing wrong with it becoming a therapy session. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Cause like I said, I'm not a licensed therapist, man, but I done been through some things, man, and I just take, and I'm the type of person, man, I'm always striving to learn about things, man. So I'm gonna strive to solve my own problem before I seek outside assistance, man. So that's why I got books on everything. So if I'm experiencing any type of problem, man, I'm gonna do the knowledge to it. I'm gonna study it, and then I'm gonna apply what I learned to my life. So now what I'm doing is just taking some of the things that I have learned and applied to my life that have been useful. I'm just taking it and I'm disseminating that information to you all, and hopefully it can help some of you. Donna C is in the building. Donna C pulling up on Black people's time. She's 38 minutes late. Sean, man, I've went a long way. Back when I was originally on Facebook, I had like the infamous page. My page, the name on the page was Illuminati Bell. And you talk about trolls galore. I almost think my page is where trolls originated. I used to have trolls heavy on that page. I don't even think the term troll was used until that page. I'm obviously joking, man, but it was a lot of trolls on that page, man, and that caused me to like reflect on my presentation. So I've grown a lot. I've matured in the way that I present a lot of my information. Back then, I was over the head bashing you with it. Hence why I would get a lot of trolls. Now I'm at a point in time where I have matured in a way that I can present my information, so I don't come off as bashful. And then I'm not going to waste time with a troll. So if someone does troll, simply ignore it. Or I'm going to bring so many facts to the table and sources to the table that now you're going to have to do your homework before you come back and say something to me. Because I tell you off the rip that you're really not arguing with me, because I got my information from certain sources. So I'm going to give you the sources. And it's almost like when you get a homeless person some cash, like whatever they do with the cash is on them. I gave you the cash out the kindness of my heart. I don't care what you do with it. So I treat a troll the same way. Once I give you the information, it's up to you to do something with that information. And I'm going to keep it moving. I'm not wasting time on trolls like I once did, because I wasted enough time doing that. And JB Too Real, man, I've been growing my hair for so long, I forget, man. It's been like 16, 17 years, man. And that's just for the locks. I had braids and a fro before that. So altogether, it's almost been close to 20 years that I've had hair. Like, to the point where I don't even know what my head looks like. So I've been growing hair for most of my life. Cynthia Wisdom Seeker, man, there's a few things that made me transition to the vegan lifestyle. I watched that Slaughterhouse documentary that you can no longer find on YouTube. It's a lot of stuff you can't find on YouTube, but that Slaughterhouse documentary, can't find it. And then I read Elijah Muhammad's How to Eat to Live. Obviously, that's not a vegan book, but that book made me reevaluate like meat. Like I didn't even look at pork in that type of light until I read that book. So when I read that book, that caused me to do some studying. So I started studying nutrition. I came across like vegetarian and veganism. I honestly didn't even know what veganism meant at that time, like 10 plus years ago. So I just did the knowledge to it and it started making sense to me. So I was like, when once I saw that Slaughterhouse video, I was like, I got to go. And then I was watching a lot of like Sonetta TV and stuff like that. And a lot of them cats was talking about certain holistic practitioners, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Africa, and things like that, man. So I started diving into that type of information. And all that information was adding up, like Muay Thai Ashby. Like I started reading a lot of those books. And a lot of them were pretty much telling you to go to vegetarian, plant-based route. So I was like, I'm going to do it. So I started the transition process. Basically, once I read How to Eat to Live, I eliminated pork like that day. So I'm real coachable, man. When I come across information, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, and I'm going to experiment. I'm not going to be like, oh, dude, don't know what he talking about. Or I ain't finna analyze Elijah Muhammad's history and be like, he did this, that, and the third. I'm like, nah, this sounds like this can be useful. Now, I don't do the 1 meal a day like he said, but man, as soon as I read that, I was like, pork, no good. And we talk, and then in our lessons, the 5% Nation, we got a lesson that talks about poison animal eaters. So I took that lesson to heart. I said, man, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, Donna, see, you missed a lot. I talked about how to reverse habits. So you can rewind it back and you're going to find out how to reverse habits. It's simple. When I talked about the habit loop, the cue, routine, reward, and how to reverse the habit, you need to focus on changing up the routine. So your cue and the reward will stay the same, but change up the routine. Yeah. Yeah, Reggie the Truth, Dr. Africa was my dude. RIP, rest in power to him too. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull his book back up. I got this book like 10 plus years ago. This was one of the books that I started reading when I was making that transition. African Holistic Health. This book was crucial. JB Too Real, the people that say we gonna die anyway is crazy, because to me, I reverse it. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live anyway. I mean, it's funny how they don't apply that to everything else in life. They only apply it to when you tell them to try to eat better. Then they say, I'm gonna die anyway. So if you're gonna die anyway, why you care about going to work, taking care of your family if you're gonna die anyway? Why do you do anything that you do if you're gonna die anyway? It's all about purpose. It's all about reaching that optimal level of health, functioning properly, not breaking down, and things of that nature. So the I'm going to die anyway makes absolutely no sense, because you're going to get up and work for a job, work for a company that treats you unfairly, and you're going to chunk it up because you got to do what you got to do. You're not looking at that job like, oh, I'm going to die anyway, so to hell with this job. Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to go to that job and you're going to take that abuse. You're going to take that mistreatment. You're going to take that racism. So why, when it comes down to eating healthy, all of a sudden you want to tell me you're going to die anyway? Well, leave your job then. Stop taking care of your kids. You're going to die anyway. None of this matters. So why take care of anything? Yeah, they put pork in a lot of stuff. Reggie the Truth, man, I don't know exactly how many versions of it. I have to do the knowledge to that and come and get back to you on that. Yeah, JB Too Real. And that's another reason why you're not going to find a lot of trolls coming my way. Like I said, I get them, but it's easy to check some of these trolls, man. It's easy to check them. Because like I said, man, the I'm going to die anyway makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely none. You might as well just wake up and just not live, man, not do anything if that were the case. So that just sounds erroneous, man. So I don't even entertain that. When somebody says that to me, I hit them with exactly what I just hit y'all with. Why do you pay any bills? Why do you pay any rent? You're going to die anyway. Why does it matter? You know? Yep, Ishmael. Yep. Soy, everything. So it's like I no longer entertain stuff like that. And again, that goes back to habits, man. People gonna utilize that to just kind of justify their lack of discipline. And that's what a lot of stuff revolves around, man, just lack of discipline. Absolution. I was gonna actually write a book and title it "I'm Going to Live Anyway." Like I actually had that. I had that type of topic in my head too. That's crazy. But I could use that title too. But I was gonna write a book revolving around people utilizing that phrase. That's crazy. Like I legit had that in my mind. Goes back to procrastination, man. I'd have had so many New York Times bestsellers in my mind, but I just don't act on them. So it's like I got like 5 or 10 books in my mind right now that I need to write. That's how my mind operates, and that was one of them. I might mess around and start a religion revolving around I'm gonna die anyway. I'm gonna have like the Jim Jones type cult. If we gonna die anyway, like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna convince people to stop paying their bills, stop taking care of their kids. Like I'm gonna do all that type of stuff. If we gonna die anyway, that's what we gonna do. We might as well. We all gonna start a cult. Like we gonna die anyway. That's what we gonna be on. Appreciate that, JB Too Real. And like I said, I've come a long way. I mean, I had like what's crazy, some little known facts about me, man. I took an acting class in college, man. It's crazy. It's one of those electives that you had to take, man. So I took the acting class, so I was pretty decent in it, man. So, and I had a public speaking class, got A's in both of them. It's just like I said, I suffer from that being socially awkward, just like lack of confidence, man, just low self-esteem, little stuff that I experienced when I was a child type deal. And another little known fact about me. My grandfather, ever since I was born, for whatever reason, called me the preacher man. Never understood why. And I think I got some information the other day as to why he called me that. Apparently because my uncle, he's a pastor, he's a preacher. And apparently I used to mimic or I used to emulate him when he was preaching when I was a child. That information was just relayed to me. So I guess that's why he was calling me that. I don't remember doing that, obviously. But dude used to call me a preacher ever since I can remember. Now, obviously, you're not about to catch me in no church preaching. That's not gonna happen. But I can kind of get the gist of that. I feel like my purpose was to deliver a certain message. Obviously, it's not necessarily a religious message. He got that part of it wrong because that's not happening. But it's crazy. It's like my grandfather pretty much predicted what I was going to be on. So like that's interesting, man. When I look back on my life, he could have called anybody else the preacher. He could have called my brother that, could have called my sister that, could have called my cousins that. He called me that. He was calling me that for a reason. Appreciate that, Lolita. Yeah, Thunderscore, we about to create the hippie cult. Like, the I'm going to die anyway cult. Like, I'm gonna set up shop. We gonna buy up a neighborhood. We gonna create our own little community, and we just not gonna care about life. Yeah, YOLO didn't go hard enough with it. So we really gonna go hard with it. We gonna stop taking care of our responsibilities, man. That's what we gonna do. That's crazy. Like that's just how stupid that sounds, man. But what's crazy is if I created a movement, it would be people that would follow that. If I made it sound believable, it would be people that would actually follow that. So that's the sad thing. So I might want to quit joking about that because it might be somebody that actually hit me up based off of what I said. Be like, hey man, so you really gonna start that movement? So like I might want to watch what I'm saying in regards to starting that because somebody might take that a little too serious. Yeah, absolution. Because I've worked on being socially awkward. Like I used to get called that in high school and all that, man. It's just like some of the stuff. And really the main reason why I was socially awkward is because I had a unique opinion. So every time I would voice my opinion, it would be different. So that creates that awkwardness. So it's like people expect you to say one thing, you say something totally different. And it's just like, nah, it's awkward. It's like that awkward silence. Like they wasn't expecting you to say that. And for the longest, like that's how I came. So I ain't know how to really deal with that. I ain't know how to deal with having that different opinion or perspective. And this wasn't really something that you could present to your parents because you had a different perspective than your parents. So that creates a problem. Lolita, don't listen to her. We before any of these platforms were invented, we actually was doing a collaboration. I remember the title of it, Get Money. I forgot what the acronym stood for. We broke it down and everything. But I mean, if I got to talking about relationships, man, it might be a lot. That's when the trolls may come for me, because I may say some stuff that people definitely would not expect. Yeah, Dizzy, most definitely black sheep, man. It is what it is. So it's hard to, because you can't find anybody to express yourself to when you are a child, because you have a different opinion than your peers, than your parents, than the adults in your life. So you don't see the world the way they see it, and you don't know how to present it to them. So that creates a problem. And there's no knock on them. It's just like you just start seeing the world differently. So it's not saying the way that they saw the world or see the world is wrong. It's just like the way that they see it, I see it differently. But when you a child, when you 12, when you 11, you 10, you don't really know how to communicate that. Because nobody really trying, like if you 30, you 40, like they're not trying to hear a 10-year-old tell them about life, like for the most part. To me, I'm listening. That 10-year-old may have some jewels that I need. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm listening. But for the most part, they gonna shun you and be like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You too young to know what you're talking about. Little stuff like that. Beast reincarnated, get out of the system ASAP, man. If you got to take some financial like L's, take them. I don't even care at this point, because the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. The reward will be there. You just got to take some risks, make some sacrifices, and at the end of the day, devote yourself to your craft. It's gonna pay off in the end. Got to think long term. Start with the end in mind type deal. Don't worry about the little sacrifices and the little L's that you got to take along the road. Everybody got to take them. So get the ball rolling now. Take your L's, man. Take your L's. Go through those obstacles. Like I said, on the relationship end, I mean, I'm a little bit, it's like when I train, it's like my training. I'm a lot harder on dudes, man, because like I be training a lot of women that go hard. And like my dudes are my hardest clients. Dudes don't be going as hard as I need them to go to. Probably because I hold them to the standard that I hold myself to. So that's my problem with training a lot of men. So when I train men and the slightest bit of complaining, like I'm upset. So that the same will go for like relationship, man. The moment they start acting like soft and start having any type of soft thoughts, like I'm gonna start going off. Because like my pops instilled me, like, man up. Like I didn't hear my pops make a lot of excuses in life. So it's like I don't like when dudes start making those type of excuses in regards to stuff like that. Like I seen my pops handle business. So it's like if it's not revolving around that, I'm gonna just start looking at dudes like, what are you talking about? But it's like that tough love that I was raised on. So it's like I have good intentions, but sometimes when it comes to dealing with dudes, like I'm gonna come off a little bit more hardcore in certain aspects of life, and like fitness is one of them. So if you a dude and I'm training you or you working out with me, like you about to get some mean treatment, man. I'm gonna push you. And I really don't want to hear you complaining, because like I said, I've had women do some extremely complicated exercises, and I mean they get through them. So if I'm training a dude, and I mean the first complaint, I got a problem. Like right now, I realize my patience is light, man, because I'm dealing with like some young men, like 14, 10, like, and it's just like, man, they not made the same way I was at that age when it comes to like working out and being fit. Like, man, I'm sorry. I know it's 2020, but like at that point, man, if I'm working out with my moms, like, and women, like I was finna go hard. I wasn't finna let them outdo me. And man, these dudes be out here complaining. This a new breed. It's a new breed of male that's being raised, and I ain't a fan of it. So I realize my patience is thin. I'm looking at little dudes like, man, what are you doing? Why are you complaining? Look at your mom. She going hard. What are you doing? Most definitely, Montel, man, that father figure is crucial. Father figure is crucial, man. I just try to instill that when I come across these young men, man. I just try to instill that in them. Like I didn't solidify like 2 more young men, man, as far as me training. So it's like I got to work on that because that stuff crazy. I'm used to things operating how I used to operate. Somebody tell me to do something, I went and did it, didn't complain. I may not have wanted to do it. As far as like fitness, man, I went out and did it though. You say go run, I'm finna go do it. Man, Dizzy, the biggest piece of advice I can give to retaining information, it revolves around passion. When you passionate about something, man, you easily retain that information. Now, when it comes to things like facts and whatnot, man, I do a lot of like I highlight and I write a lot of things down on index cards and just writing stuff down. So it's like when you come across, say, if you're reading a book, for every 5 to 10 pages that you read, close the book, write a summary about what you just read. Writing it down also helps with retaining it. But like when you passionate about it, man, it's going to stick. But if it's certain things that you want to make sure you don't forget, I recommend doing a summary like every 5 to 10 pages, man, just jotting down a summary of what you just read. Writing it down definitely helps. Writing down key words like vocab words and stuff like that, key concepts. So if you're reading a book, if it's a key concept, write it down. That's how I floated through school, man. I floated through school, man. I was just keywords, key concepts. I'm elevating it to think that you know how many meat eaters I know that are skinny. Like, yes, you can gain weight without meat easily. Matter of fact, gaining weight has little to do with meat. So it is real simple to gain weight without meat. It's not that the sun's not going to catch a break. It's just the fact that I've had young women and women, they don't complain like as much. It's like, even if they complain, they still do it. That's one thing I've noticed. Like the dudes, man, it's like they just give up and just stop. So it's like, it's a difference between complaining but getting through it, but then just complaining and stopping. And Lolita, I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. I got like pretty much all of my clients do some form of intermittent fasting. Every last one of them. And the ones that don't see the results that they would like to see. Beast reincarnated, the history that they teach in school is fabricated. I ain't gonna say it's 100% false, but it's definitely fabricated to back and support their agenda. So it's certain things that they have fabricated within history. It's certain things that they have credited to like Greeks, Romans, Europeans that we created. Hence things like geometry. That's stuff that sticks out to me. Pythagoras, the Pythagorean theorem. They got you thinking that a Greek created that, but he traveled to Egypt. He traveled to Africa to go get the theory in the first place. Socrates, Aristotle, all these philosophers that we learn about, like they give credit to them, not realizing they went to the ancient mystery schools in Egypt to gather their information. But the books, the history books will not tell you that. So that's what I mean by fabricated. They leaving out a portion of the actual story. So they just making it seem like these dudes were these intellectuals, not telling you the source of that intellect, not telling you where they were educated. That's the part that they leave out. That's what fabrication means. Yeah, Montel, like when it comes to certain things, man, like just don't even complain about it, just do it. Oh yeah, Dizzy, most definitely. The stuff that I'm not interested in, like I said, that's when I pull out the index cards and I jot down notes, and I got to study those notes vigorously. So like when I was training for my personal trainer exam, that'd be a good example of that, because a lot of that stuff was not interesting, and a lot of the stuff I disagreed with, but I had to read and I had to study it in order to pass the test. So with that, I had to do a lot of note taking, and I had to master key concepts. So I just write stuff down to help me kind of memorize it. Yeah, Pythagoras did study the longest according to my information, the research that I've done. So most definitely. But again, when you in school, they're not gonna even teach you that he went to Kemet. He went to, like, they won't even tell you that part. They skip that whole part. Just like when they talk about Columbus Day, like they skipped the whole part that it was people already here type deal. Like they skipped that whole part. Oh, they leave out Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. Like Black History Month used to be the worst month ever. And like it's such an insult to all the people, like all the historical figures, all our ancestors. I mastered the art of Martin Luther King Jr. and what was it? Rosa Parks. And they may mention Harriet Tubman, they may mention Frederick Douglass. But it's like, for the most part, boy, I mastered everything about Martin Luther King. Man, I about knew the speech verbatim, because every Black History Month, that's what'll come up. They mainly just focus on him. Man, there's so many people that they overlook, man, and don't mention when it comes to Black history. That is crazy. That's why I don't like that month to begin with. They may mention Malcolm X briefly in Black History Month, because they almost semi got to mention him briefly because he was around the era or the same time as MLK. So they got to briefly mention him. But it's crazy. They mention Malcolm X, but won't mention Elijah Muhammad, won't mention the nation. Like they won't mention that. They just mention Malcolm X. Yeah, that history starting at slavery. That, and what's crazy is, I mean, now when you looking back on it, now when you came across knowledge, it's crazy to believe that. But back then, like, we was believing it. Like, I legit believed that that's where our history started. Beast reincarnated, man. It depends on what subject you talking about in regards to what I teach them. But I encourage everybody to, the first step is knowledge yourself, man. Just figuring out who you are. And that can be that starts with studying your history and then just analyzing yourself. Yeah, Carter G. Woodson. I remember reading this book way back in the day. I just dislike the Black History Month label. Like, that's why I dislike that month. Just because of that particular label. Like, I don't like something being labeled Black History Month when they really not even touching on Black history. Like, they're not touching on Black history in no type of detail in the way that they should be touching on it. Yeah, and then another thing about that, Dizzy, it ain't even their responsibility to give us knowledge itself. That ain't their responsibility. It ain't their job to give us knowledge itself. That's our job. That's our job. So that's why the people that come across this information, come across this knowledge, as my lessons say, it's our duty to teach the uncivilized, to teach those who lack the knowledge of themselves. Like, we got to do our duty. We got to teach them. So they say it takes a village to raise the child. Like, that's a part of history, our history, that we tend to neglect, man. It takes that village. So we got to drop the Jews. We can't be giving up on our people like that, because we all we got at the end of the day. So, like, when you see that youth, that's why I'm not going to give up on the youth when I'm dealing with them. Like, I may be impatient, but I'm not going to give up on them, because we all we got. Yeah, and as a Black child, as an original child, like, or a parent of an original child, like, you should really start with that foundation. You should really start with that foundation. Knowledge yourself is crucial. Knowledge of your history is crucial. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't get that knowledge of myself, man. If I didn't know and understand who I am. who I am by nature. Yeah, Beach Reincarnated, you would probably never hear me use that concept or that term Black Lives Matter. Like you would never, like I ain't even want to finish it because you probably never hear me say anything like that. Like you would never hear me utter those words completely. Like I'm not uttering that. Not uttering that phrase. My life mattered the moment I came out the womb. My life mattered before then. My life mattered when I was conceived, man. So like my life has always mattered. Dallas Urban Access, yeah, I believe it should be our responsibility. Like I'm an advocate of like homeschooling and stuff like that, man, for real. Like if I go back to like my Illuminati Bell days, like I was talking about earlier on Facebook, like I was talking about all of that. The educational system, like I was saying then, is garbage, man, in regards to original people. It's crazy because when we get out of the school system, you got to think about it. When we get out of the school system, we are at a big disadvantage because when they get out of the school system, they haven't been miseducated. We have. So when we get out of the school system, man, we got to unlearn what was taught to us. And we got to relearn we got to relearn our true history because everything that was taught to us was a lie. They don't have to operate under that same stress. We do though. So it's like we didn't spend all this time in the school system. Then you get out and somebody telling you everything that you learned about you in that same school system that you trusted is a lie. Now you got to spend the prime of your life relearning. First, you got to unlearn, then you got to relearn or learn new things, learn the truth about your history. So we got to spend our prime learning the truth instead of spending our childhood learning it. So that's why you got to get them early. So when we go through the school system learning all this nonsense about ourselves, then we graduate, and then somebody got to tell you everything that you learned was a lie about yourself. Now you 19 and you 20, you 21, 22. And now you like, man, I got to learn the truth now. And this is your prime. Opposed to these other ethnic groups. Well, I ain't even gonna say other ethnic groups because they lie about some of these other ethnic groups too. But when when they graduate, they good. They can get on about that. They ain't got to worry about that aspect of life. Most definitely Dizzy light a fire. And Stephen S., how have I used good habits to replace negative thinking patterns? Like I said, I focus on that routine. So whatever it is that cues me or triggers me to think negatively, I just counter it. So when that cue hits me, I hit it with a positive thought, like an affirmation. Like affirmations really help me in regards to that. So it's like, just say my cue, one of my triggers for negative thinking, like impatience. So dealing with dudes that's complaining. So it's like when I come across the young man and he complaining about the workout, I say to myself, like, this is a different generation. Be patient. That's an affirmation. And it just so happened to rhyme like that. But like that's some stuff that I say to myself. So it kind of helps me with the situation. And Montel, listen, homeschool, bro, I'm gonna touch on everything. Nutrition, like fitness, self-defense, true history, math and science. Those are crucial. Math and science must be taught. Math is the language of the universe, so you got to teach them that math. And that science is definitely crucial. Then we're going to touch on things like psychology. Man, I will touch on everything. I will touch on everything. Then financial literacy, once they get to a certain age, then you hit them with the financial literacy. You teach them that aspect of the game. So it's like essentially I would touch on everything that the school system touch on, but I would just teach it correctly. Instead of teaching them how to be slaves, I'm going to teach them how to use these things to free themselves, to liberate themselves. Yeah, Steven, that's another thing. Music is definitely good for that, man. Find some positive music. I got a lot of like hip hop songs that I go to. I'm gonna give y'all one song. Y'all listen to it if y'all haven't heard it. But like Dead Prez got a song called Overstand. That song right there is filled with so much positivity. It's like when I listen to that, I'm in a great mood. Then Dead Prez got Be Healthy. When I listen to that, good mood. Dead Prez got another song, Happiness. I listen to those, good mood. So it's like anytime I get that urge to think bad, I can just play those records. Yeah, Beast Reincarnated. When they get to a certain age, man, they almost get stuck in their ways and stuck in that thought pattern, man, and it becomes complicated. And then Stephen S, man, once you look them up, like my next video, I got a lot, like one of my favorite artists. I don't know, a lot of people don't know, dude, but K Reno, man, that dude got a lot of positive music. A lot of positive music, a lot of relatable music for me, man. So I listen to a lot of dude. And dude has a lot of music. Dude drops like an album every 2 to 3 months. I listen to a lot of his music, man, because a lot of it I can't just relate to, man. It's just a lot of motivation, a lot of knowledge being dropped on dude. Oh, I got all wise intelligent joints, man. I got all poor righteous teacher joints, and I got all wise intelligent solo joints. And finance books, Think and Grow Rich is a good one. I got some Dave Ramsey joints like the Money Makeover. That's a good joint. Tony Robbins actually got a decent book. It's called Money, like Master the Game or something like that. That's a good one. So those are 3 good ones off the top of my head. I'm sure I got more. I would just have to find them. Yeah, Thunder Scorpion. Gotta teach them that, man. Gotta teach them that self-defense, especially the young women out here. Definitely gotta teach them that early. Yeah, that Prodigy, that Prodigy right before he passed, which I ain't gonna get, well, I'm gonna get off into it, but yeah, I believe that's one of the reasons why he went out the game, because he was dropping some true some powerful information on his last joint. But there's still some brothers out here that be dropping that information. Yeah, KRS-One, Rakim, Rakim be dropping the science and the math, like we say. Big Daddy Kane, that's some of the older heads that be dropping that information. Yeah, Down to See Music is one of my go-tos. And Sean Steed, I've been recently doing the knowledge to 52 blocks, man. That stuff is interesting. I want to chop it up with some brothers that teach that. But yeah, that old like Brand Nubian, a lot of people who don't be rocking with Lord Jamar, but that, of course, he comes from my culture, but a lot of people within my culture don't fool with him as well. But hey, Brand Nubian and Poor Righteous Teacher, man, when I first was getting this knowledge of self, man, I was listening to them heavy. I mean, of course, because they were part of the 5% nation and whatnot, but man, they was getting me through it. Poor Righteous Teachers, man, Dead Prez, Brand Nubian, Rakim, AZ, Nas, like these cats from a hip hop perspective was getting me through it. K Reno, Killer Priest, all that type of stuff, man. It was getting me through some joints. And then I'm gonna give y'all the track that really woke me up to some stuff, man. When K Reno dropped his song Grand Deception, man, I had never heard somebody drop information on the track like that, man. Like, he dropped some powerful information on that particular track. Whenever y'all got some time, go look up K Reno Grand Deception if you haven't heard it. That joint was crazy, man. When I first heard that, man, I almost went and purchased every album by Dude at that particular point, because that was the first song I heard by him. I said, man, who is Dude? So that dude music be getting me through a lot of stuff. Like, that dude music be getting me through a lot. Oh man, my favorite, I think my favorite Wise Intelligent joint is an under the radar joint. I think it was called Globe Holders. He was dropping some jewels on that Globe Holders. I don't know if you heard that, Thunder Scorpion, but he was dropping his knowledge on that joint. That Globe Holders joint is crazy. Beast Reincarnated. I don't know if I have awakened any elderly folks, but I have presented different perspectives to some of them, and we had a decent dialogue. Like I remember when I was training a lady like 2 or 3 years ago, and she was coming to me on an overly religious tip, and I had to like politely inform her that I'm not religious. I don't subscribe to religion. And she proceeded to ask me what I subscribe to. So in my head, again, socially awkward, I'm like, uh-oh, this conversation ain't about to end good because I'm about to tell her what I stand for, and this is how she about to respond. So I'll be planning out the whole conversation, and it's typically the worst case scenario in my head before it actually happens. But lo and behold, I presented my way of life to him. We actually had a decent exchange to where she was like opening up to listening to like my perspective and things like that. So it's all about communication. So I don't know if I woke her up at that particular point, man, but she was a little more open than I think she would have been if I would have presented myself in a different manner. Oh, Dizzy, Nip is my dude, man. They got this little thing on Apple that can track like the top artists that you listen to and how many hours you've listened to them. Man, Nip is under Tupac for me, man. Nip, that victory lap has got me through life recently. Like, dude, my dude was evolving. I've been a Nip fan since he came out with like Bullets Ain't Got No Name and stuff like that. So I was a fan of dude before people even knew who dude was. So I had always been a fan of Nip. But like I had been waiting on Victory Lap, man, for years when he was saying he was gonna drop it. Like we had the marathon, you know what I'm saying, those mixtapes and whatnot. And he finally dropped that joint, man. That's what I had been waiting on, man. So that was my dude, man. He was evolving. He was evolving hard as an artist, yo. So when he went out, man, that hit me. I was like, whoa. Like I wanted a chance to chop it up with dude. Like that's one of the dudes that I would have been like, all right, I want to meet, bro. Like I don't really get starstruck. I don't really care to meet people like that, man. But that's one of the dudes that I actually wanted to like meet. But like other than that, I don't really care to meet any people that's labeled celebrity. Like I don't really care about them like that, man. But Nip is a dude that I felt like I wanted to chop it up with. The only other dude that may be on that type of status now that I want to chop it up with, but now he going through some weird stuff is Master P. That's like the only other dude from a business perspective that got that celebrity status that I would want to chop it up with. A lot of people talk about Jay-Z and all that type of stuff. Like I really don't too much care for Jay-Z like that. I could respect some of the things that he do, but like Master P is a dude I always looked up to. And now he going through some things. That's a whole different topic though, but that's like the only other person that I really care to meet. That's like a so-called celebrity. Appreciate that, Joe Air Flyers. Right on, Dizzy, man. Like I said, that was my dude. I could do a whole video on how bro influenced me, man. Like for real. Like I'm gonna give people credit where credit is due. I have no problem. Like I was giving dude the credit while he was here. Like I mean, like my Facebook history. Like I'm giving dude enormous props. So it's like, man, I was definitely one of the ones that was giving my man his flowers while he was here, man. Because the dude, like I said, music was helping me a lot. So a lot of people be having all that hate in their heart, man. I ain't afraid to say dude was helping me. I ain't afraid to say I looked up the dude and he wasn't that much older than me. But Nip was that dude, man. Nip was that dude. Yeah, Thunder Scorpion. Some people weren't, a lot of people weren't, but I definitely was. Like I said, I had known about dude since his inception, like when he was out here, when he first was out here. I had his first mixtape and all that. Like I was on dude for a minute. Typically, like usually because I'm a fan of like Cali rappers and whatnot. So that was one thing that made me find dude because I like a lot of Cali rappers. So that was one of the reasons why I gravitated towards dude because I had found him. I'm like, all right. And he had a lot of things that started resonating with me and whatnot, man. So I had gravitated towards him a lot. But it's like I could do a whole, if I did a video on hip hop's influence on my life, that thing would be like 5 hours long. Like I can talk about some songs with some serious information, man. Like when Ras Kass dropped that Nature of the Threat, that's another song that got my antennas up. I'm like, hold up. Like Ras Kass dropped, and like I said, man, I'm a student. So when Ras Kass was dropping, his information on Nature of the Threat, man, I started picking up books. I read books by Shaka Musa Barashango. Y'all might not even know who that is. But when dude dropped Nature of the Threat, I said, man, where is dude getting this information from? Came across a Shaka Musa Barashango and African people and European holidays, a mental genocide. A lot of what he said in Nature of the Threat was in that book. So I read all the books on Shaka Musa Barashango. Rest in power to the ancestor. But man, I started doing the knowledge, man. Like I'm like, man, where do we get this information from? I found out. Donna C, I can imagine, man. I done had some people that had known me for a long time delete me, block me from Facebook, all type of stuff because of religion. I mean, I done had some people get extremely in their feelings in regards to my view on religion and things of that nature. I mean, it'd be crazy. And it can even be something as small as me asking a question. Like I may not have even said anything that offended them. I may have asked an offending question. How can you be offended by a question? I've asked questions and people will be like, man, what are you asking me that for? You trying to start a fight? Woo, wop, wham. It's like, man, I can't ask a question. But then they can drill you with question after question in regards to how you reach the conclusion that you reached. But the moment you ask them a question, now all of a sudden everybody attacks religion. Like religious people love to feel attacked. All right, Lance, peace, man. You enjoy that work. Oh, yeah, down to see Erykah Badu, Jill Scott. Oh, yeah. That'd be an interesting conversation. At one point, I did want to talk to Lauryn Hill, but now I don't. Ah, my goodness, I don't want to talk to Lauryn Hill now. For one, she probably ain't gonna show up to the conversation, so I'm good. But boy, Lauryn Hill, whoo, yeah, I used to want to have a conversation with her, but that's no good now. You can eliminate her from that, boy. Yeah. Thunder Scorpion, man, don't even get me started. Like I can make a 24-hour video on some of the back and forths I done had with religious folks. And the way that it was just so easy for me to kind of back them in a corner, man. It's like, come on, dude. And all y'all do is just ask questions. Because the thing of it is, they see to it that they ask you all the difficult questions. But the moment you start doing that to them, like I said, they feel attacked. So they can ask me every question under the sun about how I believe everything came to be. But the moment I ask them who created their being that they're talking about, then they be like, hold up, why are you asking me that? That's offensive and little stuff like that. And I used to pull out simple Bible verses. Like when they say we created man in our image and our likeness. Like, who is our? Who is we? Little stuff like that I used to ask, man. They used to get mad. You misinterpreting it, the Bible and all this type of stuff. I'm like, okay, that's why I'm asking the question. If you feel like I'm misinterpreting something, answer my question. Montel, I don't know if you've been recently keeping up with what Lauryn Hill has been on, but she just isn't on the surface. She just isn't the person that you would think that she would be. You said, like, judge a book by its cover works both ways. Like, we had this perception of Lauryn Hill, and I'm 100% sure, even though I know it's an assumption, but I'm 100% sure she's not the person that we would all think and would like her to be. And that, I mean, for the longest, I had this perception of Lauryn Hill. She like just the GOAT. I feel like you have a conversation with Lauryn Hill might change your whole life. Now I feel like I'll walk away from it upset. Like, man, I waited my life for this. I feel like Lauryn Hill is one of those ones, you know how when you've been idolizing somebody and you finally meet them, but like they're a trash person. Like, I feel like that'd be her. Like, you've been waiting your whole life. You looked up to this person, man. You've been looking up to him your whole life, and you finally meet him, and then they just treat you like trash. Don't even want to take a picture with you. Don't even want to give you the autograph. It's like, with that. Yeah, she got to align them chakras, man. She got to astro project and all that type of stuff before which that's going to cause her to be late. Beast reincarnated, man, look. The two eyes that you see right now, they activated. My mind is activated. So that's all I need. I'm activated. I'm activated as a person. I don't necessarily refer to it as a third eye. Like, my mind is activated. I'm aware. I'm conscious. Like, I strive for that highest level of intelligence. So I'm activated personally. Like, everything about me is activated in regards to reaching that supreme state. So, like, that's activated. Once I activate that, I don't have to break anything down and say third eye, first eye, second eye. I activate self. Once self is activated, I'm good. When you realize what it means to be that supreme being, like, all you got to do is just activate self. And that activates everything else. That opens up everything else. Yeah, Dizzy, most definitely, but still at the same time, the way I look at it, because like I said, man, I didn't went through some traumatizing experiences in my life, man. I'm not gonna come off as that type of person, but I understand that people deal with stuff differently. But like, man, I done went through some troubling times, man, and I still wasn't gonna treat people any type of way, man, and talk crazy, and then have my daughter saying that type of stuff about me and all type of stuff, man. It ain't gonna come to that. It ain't gonna come to that, man. But I understood. That's why I gave her the benefit of the doubt for the longest. There was a lot of people bashing Lauryn Hill before now, and I was like, nah, man, you know. But I think I'm cool on it now. Yeah, I think I'm cool on it now. Like, I'm cool on it. I chop it up with Anita Baker or something, or Sade. Yeah, I chop it up with one of them or something. And they could be just as trash, but man, I chop it up with Anita Baker or something, man. That's what I chop it up with. Let me go find Anita Baker, chop it up with Anita Baker, man. She kind of would give me that grandmother vibe. And, you know, I just lost my grandmother, so that'd be a good person to chop it up with. That's underrated. It's an underrated person to chop it up with. Beast reincarnated, nope. Down to see, align them. What Beyonce say? I hate I gotta quote Beyonce. Get in formation, get them in formation, align them. But yo, once again, it's been another powerful dialogue. I mean, I touched on what I had to touch on within like the first 40 minutes. Then we again talks about any and everything, but that's what makes this channel unique. Get real diverse, versatile. We talk about any and everything. Yes, Beyonce is definitely that. I don't fool with her, but I had to quote that. Had to quote that for the one time, but I definitely don't fool with them. But yeah, man, this was a very good exchange, great dialogue. Y'all know how this channel can get. We start off talking about habits. Then we started talking about music. Then we started talking about astral projecting and chakras. So that's interesting. So I don't know how we did that, but that's how these lives tend to go. But I'm cool with it because we can talk about all that. We can chop it up. But I got some people that I got to train in about 28 minutes, man. So I'm finna go ahead and get this routine together so I can run them through the ground, drill them, make them hate me. Here's what it is. Y'all know how I get down. Y'all be peaceful, man. I'm going to be back on here Wednesday. We're going to touch on something deep. I think I'm going to talk about why I do not care to vote. Why voting is not something that I do. So I think we're going to talk about that. Like I said, Wednesday is when we're going to talk about something that's deep. I think I feel like talking about voting. So Wednesday, I think that's what I'm going to be on, man. So I'm going to see y'all again Wednesday. It's probably going to be around the same time. And we going to build, man. We going to build. We going to build on the positives. We going to destroy the negatives. Once again, y'all stay up out there, man. Y'all be peaceful. Y'all maintain. Y'all elevate and be those supreme beings that y'all was born to be, man. Peace.